Europe is still the easiest country to rage bait. Now, obviously, Europe is not a country. It's far more appropriate to call it a region in the West Asian Peninsula. The word continent in common daily use is used as a geological term, akin to a mountain range or an island. However, in its definition, it's geopolitical and geographical, being defined like a country. The problem with that is we have a word for that. It's called a region. For example, the landmass of Australia, that is a continent, was named Australia before it ever declared its independence as a country. Oceania describes the region which contains the continent of Australia. It is well past time that we actually define continent geologically, not geographically and geopolitically. But this is a point that went way over the head of the angry Europeans in the comments, who just could not understand this concept at all. Before we discuss why Europeans can't understand that, let's talk about what a continent should be geologically. Large chunk of land, more than 1 million square miles, that is separated by either a body of water, not a river, or an isthmus. It's also appropriate to say land bridges don't count either, and then you're left with 4 continents. However, it does cause more problems than it solves. It also doesn't pass the general site test, which geological terms ought to do. When you look at the globe, you see 1 big chunk of land, 2 big chunks of land, 3 big chunks of land, 4 big chunks of land, 5 big chunks of land, 6th icy chunk of land. It's kind of like if you have a truck pulling the trailer, you don't say that the trailer is the truck. But I digress. No matter which method you used in geology, there would be no argument for Europe being a continent nor a subcontinent. The Ural Mountains aren't evidence for that or anything else. India and Arabia, sure, they could be considered subcontinents due to significant land separation and tectonic plates. Europe does not apply to that. But let's return to why were Europeans not able to understand this. Contrary to popular belief, Europeans are not actually intellectually robust. Within Europe, there are 44 generally agreed upon countries. Of those 44 countries, 35 fall below average intelligence. And while I know IQ is not the end-all be-all for intelligence, it's kind of like determining the sweetness of a drink by how much sugar is in it. Sure, there are other things that can make a drink sweeter or less sweet, but if you look at just the sugar content, you're going to have a general idea. The average American, to what should be no surprise to any US citizen, is just below average intelligence. The average European is statistically significantly a bit more below average intelligence than that. The average East Asian, bit of a spike into that above average intelligence region. Just as a bit of caution, IQ does not really have to do with ethnicity. It has to do with culture and education. The general culture and education system in Europe is well behind places like the US and the rest of Asia. The word continent is still being held back because Europeans are too arrogant and too stupid to let it go.